StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs, where we will learn significant events of the past 2 days because today is Monday. So we have included Sunday and Monday together in this particular episode or the class. And you will learn how to tackle preliminary question along with knowledge base and conceptual clarity. Before I begin, I would like to inform you that please do not make notes in this class because I provide the notes in the form of the current PDF that I'm using on my Telegram channel. Other than this, if you want to be a part of my Instagram channel, you can also connect with me there. I will solve all your doubts and queries regarding UPSC. Now, these are the many events that we have to cover today. I asked a question with respect to Archaeological Survey of India, which has been in the news because of the Gyanvapi issue, and many of you have answered it correctly. It was a trick question, so make sure that you understood the question well, then only you answered. Other than this, we have other important events to cover. The P2I batches for the morning one, we are launching it from 11th of August. We have few days left. Because we have few days left, I request you to take admission in this as soon as possible. We have batches in Hindi, English and English. And if you want to become a part of it, you have to apply the code PD Live to get it at 29,999 only. Why? Because we are going to provide you many things here: prelims test series, mains test series, daily answer writing practice. Other than this, current affairs module and a specific mains residential program for those students who are going to qualify prelims 2024. You will be called to the StudyIQ campus for 4 months. You will prepare there for mains examination. After that, we have the arduous preparation for interviews as well. So this is just available at 70,000, but if you use the code PD Live, you will get it at 29,999 only. The classes will be in live fashion. That means you will be able to interact with the teachers. Moving on, the Archaeological Survey of India was centralized under Lord Curzon, Lord William Bentinck, Lord Dufferin or Lord Hastings. See, what is the trick over here? I am not asking you about establishment. The Archaeological Survey of India is a pre-independence body. It was established in the year 1861 and back then the Viceroy was Lord Canning. And I am here asking you about the centralization. Although it was established in 1861, but its work was very fragmentalized in manner. And its work was very fragmented in manner. And what happens that when Lord Curzon came to India, it became a blessing in disguise for archaeology in India. So he was the one who accepted many proposals which were pending since a long period of time to have a specific approach to Indian archaeology, and hence under him only, under Lord Curzon only, we could see that this was centralized. So the correct answer will be option A. So the Archaeological Survey of India functions under the Ministry of Culture, and its work is to maintain and look after the important remains since the ancient, medieval and modern times in India. So it does archaeological researches and also protection of the cultural heritage, because it is important for Indians, specifically such a diverse country like India, to ensure that it is in touch with its past. And that is why looking in the past, but of course invested in the future. So that is why Archaeological Survey of India does it. Also, it regulates all archaeological activities according to the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958. It also regulates the Antiquities and Art Treasure Act of 1972. So you have to keep in mind these two important acts. Other than this, the beginning of archaeology in India began with Sir William Jones when he established the Asiatic Society in Calcutta back in the year 1784. And since then, the evolution of archaeology began in India. So Alexander Cunningham, he was appointed as the first archaeological surveyor from December 1861, when this became more consolidated in manner, that the Archaeological Survey of India came into existence. But its regulation was for a very short span of, you can say, area. It used to regulate, or it used to have surveys for very limited areas. But when it became centralized, its expanse, of course, reached wider. And John Marshall was appointed as the new Director General when Lord Curzon centralized it. Okay, so Lord Curzon totally centralized the survey and vested the powers with the Director General, and the Director General was John Marshall. He assumed the charges in 1902, and a new era started in the history of Indian archaeology. Consider the following statements. The governor of the state may, by discretion authorize the use of the Hindi language or any other language used in the proceedings of the High Court. The Constitution of India provides that all proceedings in the Supreme Court and in every High Court shall be in English language until Parliament by law otherwise provides. The Constitution entrusts the Union government to promote the spread of the Hindi language. So how many statements given above is or are correct? See, recently there was a statement made by the Supreme Court of India for Hindi language, that Hindi language is our national language. Although in the Constitution we find no mention of Hindi as the national language. Under various articles starting from 348 onwards, we can see that there has been an attempt to ensure that India does not lag behind when it comes to finding a lingua franca. So accordingly, we have certain statements. The governor of state may, by the consent of the president, authorize the use of Hindi language or any other language. That means it could be either Hindi or any other language in the proceedings of the High Court. It is not done by discretion. Discretion is that you're not taking the conformity of the higher authorities. And governor here only can do so according to the Article 348 when he or she has the consent of the president. Okay. The first statement by that very nature is incorrect. See, UPSC is going to ask you questions like this only. Now, if you have read about this much, that the governor of the state can authorize the usage of Hindi or any other language in the proceedings of the High Court, but you miss out the word discretion, then you may end up thinking that this particular statement is correct. The Constitution of India does provide that all proceedings in the Supreme Court and in every High Court shall be in English language. This is also according to Article 348 Clause 1. This is according to 348 Clause 2. And until the Parliament by law otherwise provides. That means if the Parliament makes any sort of law regarding the proceedings to be taken up in any other language other than English, then it can be done. But who has the power? The Parliament has the power. It can also be said in the UPSC Prelims question that the Supreme Court has the powers. No. Supreme Court cannot decide for itself that which language it wants to use, because either it is the Constitution that has provided us that or the Parliament can do it by law. So first is incorrect, second is definitely correct. The Constitution, according to Article 351, says that the Union government has to promote the spread of Hindi language. That means it is a constitutional duty that the Union government has, according to Article 351, that they have to ensure Hindi language's use should be done. But it should not be done in a manner that seems like imposition. Alright? So you have to look at all this as well. So first is incorrect, second and third, these two are correct, two only will be the correct answer. The Supreme Court has recently observed that although there are at least 22 official languages, of course in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution, but Hindi is the national language. Although we do not find any mention of it being a national language in the Constitution, Clause 1 of Article 343 that is by the title of official language of the Union says that the official language of the Union shall be Hindi. First of all, language is provided for. Not only that, but the script has also been provided. That means in which manner that language has to be written. It is the Devanagari script. Okay, the Hindi language which has the script Devanagari, that will be used as the official language of the Union. And the form of numericals that has to be used, it's for official purposes, of course, it shall be the international form of Indian numerals, not the Indian numerals like 1, 2, we write in the international manner. That has to be the numerical one. This is all provided in the Constitution itself. Article 351 entrusts the duty of promoting and spreading of the Hindi language on the Union government, and it is without interfering with its genius, forms, style and expression used in the Hindustani and in other languages of the India specified in the 8th schedule. So there is a condition that although Hindi language has to be promoted, but it should be done without interfering with its genius, its forms or its style and expression which is used in Hindustani. Okay, and there are 22 languages in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Originally there were only 14, but later on many other languages were also added. And we can see Hindi, Bengali, Punjabi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Sanskrit, Assamese, Marathi, Nepali, Odia and Urdu. And in originally we had 14 languages, but later on Bodo, Dogri, Maithili, Santhali. These all were also added in the year 2004. Okay, these were added in the year 2004. English by surprise finds no mention in the 8th schedule, but it is one of the 99 non-scheduled languages of India. And according to Article 348 Clause 1, all proceedings in the Supreme Court and in every High Court, it shall be in English language. This is provided in the Constitution until Parliament by law otherwise provides. So the power to modify the language of use rests with the Parliament. Article 348 Clause 2, I have already told you about the governor's powers when it comes to having a say in the use of Hindi language or any other language in the proceedings of the High Court, but it should be with the previous consent of the President. Okay. Consider the following statements. Statement 1 says, in inbred populations of cheetahs, that means the population which grows by inbreeding. Inbreeding means by family or clan. If they are breeding with the members of their own family, that is inbreeding. So inbreeding population of cheetahs, skin grafts are easily accepted by individuals unrelated to the donor. What is skin grafting? That means if I remove a piece of skin surgically from a cheetah and I stitch it onto another cheetah, that is skin grafting. And the statement 1 is saying that in inbred population, that means in cheetahs of the same family, skin grafting is easily accepted. Present day cheetah populations have relatively low genetic variability which can be found out by skin grafting. So these two are the statements that have been given and we have to choose the correct answer using the codes. Current cheetah population has a low genetic diversity. Why? Because of the low population, and when there is low population, there are high chances of inbreeding. There are certain indicators through which we can find that genetic diversity exists or not. So skin grafting is one of the indicators. I have already told you what skin grafting is. And in present day cheetah population, if we have to find that out, we are finding that when a skin is taken out surgically from one cheetah and pasted or stitched onto another cheetah, if that skin is accepted by that particular cheetah, by the receiver from the donor, then we can say that they have inbreeding or they are members of the same family, they have inbred. Because of this, we can find out that there is low genetic diversity. If the skin is accepted, that means inbreeding is there, and that means there is low genetic diversity. If the skin, the receiver says the skin, I am not going to accept it, then we can say that there is genetic difference between these two and there is low, high genetic diversity. So in the current population of cheetahs, from this skin grafting indicator, we have found out that genetic diversity is very low, and as compared to other felines, other big cats, we are seeing that in cheetahs, genetic diversity is very much low. So that is why it becomes really impossible to, I wouldn't call it impossible, but difficult to sustain a cheetah population. That is why we are registering so many deaths in India in the Kuno National Park. Of course, there are many reasons for it, but the biggest reason, even for the cheetahs to survive in the wild, is low genetic diversity. Because they have a low genetic diversity, their gene pool is limited. They are very much prone to dying after they are born. Just as a cub they can die because of the certain diseases that in every species we see. If there is low genetic diversity, if there is inbreeding, then diseases can continue in their generations. So because of that, we can say that first statement is correct, second is also correct. And here second statement is the correct explanation of statement 1. Okay, because present day cheetah populations have relatively low genetic variability which can be found out by skin grafting. And how is that found out? When the skin that has been already grafted is accepted by the receiver. If they had different genetics, then the receiver would not accept the skin that has been grafted on them. So both the statements are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. Option B will be the correct answer. Now, Union Minister has said that there is no plan to relocate the cheetahs that have been placed in the Kuno National Park. many experts believe that Kuno National Park does not have the appropriate range for the cheetahs to exist. But there are other national parks as well where we are seeing that we could relocate cheetahs, but currently there are no such plans. 8 cheetahs were flown to the Kuno National Park last year from Namibia, and also we had 12 cheetahs from South Africa that were flown this year. That means we had 20 cheetahs and 4 other cubs that were born in India only in the Kuno National Park. Now 9 cheetahs, 9 adult cheetahs and 3 cubs have died. Okay, and that is as in 9 cheetahs, that includes 3 cubs have died, and of course only 1 cub remains, and less than in a year, we can say, we wouldn't say that it is a failure, but it is becoming harder to sustain. Although I might add here that the government, since many ages, be it any government, they knew that Project Cheetah may witness at least 50% decline in the population, because this is for the first time ever that cheetahs are flying from a different country. So they have to be very, acclimatized and accustomed to the situation that exists in India. The cheetahs in India, they got extinct, officially extinct. They were declared so in 1952. Since then, so many changes have taken place in the climatology, weather, and everything else. So we are just in that phase. But still, if the laws are not amended in such a manner that we can also create sinks and reserves for the cheetahs, we will continue to witness this decline. So now Kuno National Park has 15 cheetahs at present, which includes 1 cub as well. Cheetah actually this word comes from the Sanskrit word Chetaka, and that means spotted, Chitraka, and that means spotted. In India, we saw that in 1952 they were declared officially extinct, and Neolithic cave paintings in India also support the theory that there may be a cheetah back then as well. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal. Now the range of cheetahs, as you can see here, by the 1940s we also had them in Gujarat, in central India, in South India, even in Pakistan we had, but no sign of them in North and Northeast India. Also, this is of course important from the perspective of prelims. You have to remember that the first cheetah in the world was bred in captivity in India during the reign of Jahangir. You have to remember this because this could be asked. Other thing is that cheetahs are very shy in nature, so it becomes really hard for humans to breed them in captivity. Also, they are very docile. That means they can easily be tamed. If you are going to, get a cheetah for yourself, please do not do that. But still, by example, hypothetically, and if you train them since the very beginning, since the age of the cubs, then they will just behave like dogs or cats. They can also meet your relatives and your guests, whoever visits you. So cheetahs are very docile in nature. And then because of this particular nature, it became very easy to tame them and take them out for huntings when kings used to go for huntings of antelopes and deers and all that. So they used to accompany them. So this has also been a very big reason. Their nature by itself has become the very big reason for their extinction. Also, by 1947, the last 3 cheetahs living in the country were killed by whom? Maharaja Ramanujan Dev Singh of Korea state, which is of course now in Chhattisgarh. So we can say that human habitation loss, the nature of the cheetahs themselves, and the low genetic diversity that they have are few reasons where we can from which we can say that cheetahs became extinct. These are the factors why cheetahs became extinct in India. Now, present day cheetah population, they have relatively low genetic variability. This can be found out by performing a skin graft. I have already told you about that. And this occurs among cheetahs, suggesting that they have lost some genetic diversity when the donor skin is accepted by the receiver. Okay. In inbred population, skin grafts are easily accepted by individuals unrelated to the donor, unrelated as well as related. Both cases can happen. But because of the low genetic diversity, it feels like inbred population has taken place since a long period of time. That is why they have some genes of similarity in different unrelated. Like if you can see, we have this family of cheetah and this family of cheetah. Their grandparents and great grandparents may have inbred, but right now they may not be related, but still they have genetic similarity. That is why they are accepting, right? So this is what this particular statement wants to say. Now, asymmetrical skull. This is another indicator. another indicator that inbreeding or low genetic diversity is there. How? When you visit the museums, you will see that the skulls of cheetahs are not very symmetric in nature. And this is another indicator where we can say that there is low genetic diversity, or because of inbreeding only asymmetrical skulls appear. So that is why we can say that there is low genetic diversity. Consider the following statements with respect to the moon. The moon is tidally locked with Earth, which means that it doesn't spin on its axis exactly while it orbits our planet. Then the tilt of the moon's orbit prevents us from having monthly solar and lunar eclipses. So what do we have to see? Which of the statements given above is or are correct? What is meant by tidally locked? See, when the moon is tidally locked, what happens? That when it rotates around the earth, it spins exactly once when it rotates. And this makes it impossible for anybody on the earth to look at both sides of the moon. That is why one particular area of the moon remains hidden all the time, because it is not rotating while it is orbiting the earth. It is rotating exactly once, and when that happens, the dark side of moon even then, so it does not appear from the earth. So a part of the moon is always hidden. This part, as you can see, as the circle of illumination, here it is the circle of illumination which is dividing the earth into the day and night, and this is the part of the moon which is receiving sunlight, and this is the part of the moon which is not receiving sunlight. Here it is night, and because of the moon receiving the sunlight, we are seeing that it is illuminated or shining for us to see. And here, when this particular earth rotates on its own axis, this doesn't, and it will rotate only once. That means a particular side of the moon will remain hidden from the earth if anyone watches. So this is what the circle of illumination tells us about, and this is what tidally locked or you can say synchronous orbit of the moon tells us about. It will rotate exactly once on its axis while it orbits the earth. So this is what it is known as tidally locked. Second is that because of the inclination of the moon's orbit from the earth's plane is making a 5-degree axis, and because of that, what happens? That it may occur above the sun or below the sun. All right. And because of this only, because it is not lying in a straight line, the moon is not lying in a straight line, then we can see it is not creating any sort of eclipse. If they will lie on the same plane, it will create eclipse, solar eclipse more so often. Okay, so because of the moon's orbit is tilted from the ecliptic, from the plane of the earth, that is helping us that solar eclipses are not occurring. Okay, so first statement is, let's see, what was that? First statement, moon is tidally locked with earth, which means that it doesn't spin. No, it does spin exactly once while it orbits the planet earth. So first statement is incorrect. The tilt of the moon's orbit prevents us from having monthly solar and lunar eclipse. If it wouldn't have been so, then we could see monthly lunar as well as solar eclipse, both would occur, and this wouldn't be a very good thing. So first is incorrect, second is correct, 2 only will be the correct answer, because Chandrayaan 3 is making its descent onto the lunar surface. By orbit we are going closer to the moon. We are not making a direct journey. Like we upgraded the orbit from the earth, and now we are descending the orbit of the Chandrayaan. So in that fashion only we can say that this question has been asked. The moon travels around our planet once every 27.322 days in an elliptical orbit, which is an elongated circle. That means it is like this, okay? And it is tidally locked with the earth. It spins on its axis exactly once each time it orbits our planet. So that makes, if it is doing it each time, that makes one side to remain hidden, and this is known as synchronous rotation. I have already explained it to you through this. The moon's orbit is tilted about 5 degrees compared to the plane of the earth and the sun, and this prevents us from having monthly lunar and solar eclipse. Moving on. I've already told you this as well. Consider the following statements. The entire project is being funded by Universal Service Obligation Fund. In the pilot, BharatNet registered an average speed of 175 GB per household per month. It is a center-state collaborative project, so we have to see how many statements with respect to BharatNet is or are correct. Now, BharatNet is an ambitious project which wants to have digital penetration through the last mile of the country. And the entire project is actually being funded by Universal Service Obligation Fund, which was created to ensure digital penetration in the rural areas. And in the pilot that was launched, BharatNet registered an average speed of 175 GB per household per month. And it is a center state collaborative project because it is the right of the state to provide free way when it comes to the installation of the BharatNet. So that is why it is a center state collaborative project. So how many are correct? First is correct, second is correct, third is also correct. All three will be the, sorry, not correct, we had to select, right? None will be not correct because all three are correct. The Union Cabinet has approved 1.39 lakh crore rupees for modernizing the BharatNet project because we want to change our execution facility as well as providing fiber connections to the last mile through village level. Government is looking to speed up its process in connecting all these 640,000 villages over the next 2.5 years. So it's a very ambitious project. The National Optical Fiber Network, which was launched in 2011, this was only renamed as in 2015 as BharatNet by making certain upgradation. It is an ambitious initiative to trigger a broadband revolution in rural areas, creation of robust middle mile infrastructure for reaching broadband connectivity to Gram Panchayat so that e-governance, e-education, telemedicine, all these can take place. The National Optical Fiber Network aims to connect all the 250,000 Gram Panchayats in the country to provide 100 Mbps connectivity to all Gram Panchayats. Remember the data as well because certain times data can be asked. The existing fibers of PSUs were utilized. Along with that, there was an increase in fiber that were laid to the Gram Sabha Panchayats wherever it was necessary, and that means full usage was made. The NOFM project was funded by the Universal Service Obligation Fund. BharatNet is a project of national importance which provides broadband connectivity of 2 Mbps to 20 Mbps for all households, and on-demand capacity will be also given so that the vision of Digital India can be achieved. The project is a center-state collaborative project because it is the right of the state to provide free rights of way for establishing the open fiber network. So basically, this is an information highway. Information should reach all the corners of the country in the correct manner, and this is the international network highway. Sorry, national network highway. Now consider the following pairs. We have to match the PVTGs with the state they are found in. Riangs, Koragas and Seharias. Riangs are found in Kerala, Koragas Karnataka, and Seharias Rajasthan. So what do we have to see? How many pairs given above is or are not correct? See, Riangs belong to Tripura. They are also found in certain neighboring states, but basically they belong to Tripura. So first statement for that, first pair for that very matter is incorrect. Koragas are a PVTGs from Karnataka and Seharias are from Rajasthan. Okay. So 2 and 3, these two are correct. First is not, one only will be the correct answer. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu has said that PVTGs should also be given specific reservations in the employment sector and education sector. PVTGs are actually a group which is much more vulnerable than the rest of the tribes. And since 1975, the identification of such groups started from the central levels, from the Government of India. And by the year, in these particular years only, it was declared that there are 52 such groups which are PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, although they were not called as that back then. And in 1993, an additional 23 groups were added to the category. Then it was made up to 75. Okay. Government of India follows certain criteria, although that is not mentioned in the constitution or anywhere in India. But still, this is the said or conventional criteria that is followed. First of all, the level of agricultural activity, the technology that they use, they are not corresponding to the modern technology. That means they might be using certain things which were used in colonial India. So that is the first reason, the first criteria. Second is that they have low level of literacy. Because of that, economics is also not very good, and their population is also declining. That means diseases also occur amongst them. So these four are the criteria. Now this is a list which will show us which tribal group belongs to which particular state or union territory. So we see that Seharias belong to Rajasthan. Other than that, we also talked about Riangs, right? So Riangs belong to Tripura. And one more was there, Koragas, right? So let's go to Koragas. Koragas and Jenu Kuruba, they are from Karnataka. Okay, so I hope you understood this. In 1973, the Debar Commission created the primitive tribal groups as a separate category. 1973, this was done. This was only renamed in 2006 as particularly vulnerable tribal groups. The Mission Indradhanush, an immunization program, was launched in which of the following years? The correct answer to this question is option B, that is 2014. Nagaland will launch its first phase of intensified Mission Indradhanush 5.0. This is basically in phased manner. The Mission Indradhanush in phased manner when it is working to ensure that children of a particular group and those pregnant women which may have been left by the previous immunization programs, they are also targeted. Then it is an intensified immunization plan. Mission Indradhanush was launched by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare back in 2014, and this was the date 25th December to expand the immunization coverage of immunization coverage across all sectors in India. And this aimed to cover all those children who are either unvaccinated or are partially vaccinated against a vaccine preventable disease, and free vaccines against 12 life-threatening disease across 26 million children annually have been given. Tuberculosis, diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, hepatitis B, pneumonia, meningitis due to Haemophilus influenza type B, measles, rubella, Japanese encephalitis are some of these. This will be provided in the in the PDF that I will provide you. So do read it from that as well. The IMI 5.0 campaign, it aims the children in the age group of 0 to 5 years and also pregnant women who have been left out in vaccinations. In many states, it will be launched now in a phased manner. There will be phases from this month to this month of this year like this. And the UWIN platform will be used. After COVID, it could be seen that a platform which will be a dedicated force for immunization, UWIN, was also launched in a similar manner so that a database could be created. Aditi Swami created history by becoming the first ever Indian to clinch the individual world title at the World Archery. She defeated Andrea Becerra, who belongs to. The options have been given. You have to answer it correctly in the comment segment. Let me take the names of those students who have answered the last question correctly. Okay, so that you can answer it again. Okay, option A will be the correct answer. Shweta, Mandeep, Priya, Saurabh, Himanshi, Vivek, Komal, Soumya, Yash, Kasturi, Vignesh, Prabal, Yalalinga, Akash, Siddharth, Prosit, also no ARP, whatever this username ARP. I have provided the latest data. If you look for the latest data, you will find it. Okay, and it was from Business Times only. Okay, Robinson, Priyadarshan, Shambhav, Vishruti, Itcha, Aditya, Utkarsh. Acha, you want me to explain it a little slow? Okay, I will do it. Shalini, Malinath, Shubhang, Vibhu, Vishwajit, Simran, Sandhya, Harshvardhan, Santosh, Mansi, Abhishek, Om. Okay, if somebody wants me to explain it a little slower, they can go to the settings of the YouTube and then slide down the speed as well, because this is the natural speed that I find and I think it is okay with most of you. So whenever you find some things like that, I will make it slower, but if you want it even more slower, then you can also slide down the speed limit. Okay, so I will try to make it understandable for each and everyone. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay updated.
StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।